Let's begin. The sunlight was deceptively bright on the day Alex found himself deeply in love, its gentle warmth pooling on the polished oak floors of her parents' lavish summer house. It shimmered through wide French windows, illuminating expensive paintings that mocked him with their opulence, silently reminding him of the gulf between their worlds. Alex, raised in a humble household scented by fresh bread and laundered linen, had never imagined himself in such extravagant settings. His childhood memories were rich with simplicity. Evenings spent playing baseball on worn grass, meals shared around a modest dining table, and summers punctuated by the sound of his mother's laughter as she baked pies to sell at local markets. Yet here he was, entangled in a love so profound he believed it could bridge the widest societal chasm. Her name was Isabella, the golden-haired daughter of Donovan Harrington, a towering figure in real estate, whose name adorned buildings Alex could never dream of entering, and Amelia Harrington, a woman whose charity events were only slightly less notorious than her extravagant European shopping excursions. Isabella's laughter was melodic, her eyes sparkling with a charm that effortlessly captivated Alex, blinding him to the invisible barriers her family so meticulously maintained. "Do you really have to go so soon?" Isabella asked, leaning gently against him, her voice sweetly persuasive. They were sitting on a weathered park bench just outside the vast iron gates of her parents' sprawling estate. The bench bore her initials, carved childishly into the wood years ago. He ran his fingers over the rough letters, imagining a simpler past, untouched by the complications of wealth and class. "I wish I could stay," he whispered, the sincerity in his voice unmistakable. "But I've got an early shift at the store tomorrow." Alex worked tirelessly at a sporting goods shop downtown, stocking shelves and fitting soccer shoes on feet that belonged to kids from neighborhoods much like his own. The modest income wasn't much, but it was honest, something his father, a respected but retired schoolteacher, had always instilled in him. She pouted playfully, squeezing his arm with affection. "I just hate when you leave," she whispered, her breath warm against his neck. He felt a flush of pride mixed with vulnerability. She didn't seem to care about his worn sneakers or his faded jeans. In her presence, material concerns dissolved into meaningless trivialities. Yet, as their romance deepened, the shadows cast by her family's silent disapproval became increasingly impossible to ignore. Donovan Harrington, though not particularly tall, loomed large in presence, his personality formidable enough to dominate any space he entered. His casual remarks carried the underlying menace of carefully concealed disdain, veiled threats Alex found hard to dismiss. Amelia Harrington, with her perfectly coiffed hair and cold, calculating eyes, could freeze a room with nothing more than a carefully raised eyebrow. Both parents had made their disapproval clear from the outset. Alex was tolerated only because their daughter demanded it. The engagement was announced at a dinner party filled with dignitaries and businessmen whose polite smiles didn't quite mask their whispers. Donovan's handshake was stiff, his congratulatory words dripping with skepticism. "Well, Alex, I suppose congratulations are in order," he remarked icily, emphasizing Alex's name as if it were a stain to be scrubbed from his tongue. "We'll see how this all pans out." Those ominous words lingered like frostbite beneath the warmth of Isabella's joyous laughter. Alex sensed the warning, a subtle threat camouflaged by the sleek veneer of politeness. Yet his love overshadowed caution. The sparkle in Isabella's eyes eclipsed her parents' thinly veiled hostility. A few days later, Alex found himself in the Harrington family's grand study, seated across a massive mahogany table polished to a mirror finish. Donovan, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, slid a crisp legal folder towards him, expressionless except for a slight, smug twitch at the corner of his mouth. "It's merely a formality," Donovan explained with practiced ease. "A prenuptial agreement, completely standard for families like ours." Alex's gaze darted nervously to Isabella, hoping for reassurance, but her face was deliberately unreadable, her eyes lowered to avoid his questioning look. The document before him detailed with meticulous precision that any family assets, including inheritances, businesses, and lavish gifts, would remain exclusively hers, while oddly emphasizing that lottery winnings or sudden financial windfalls during the marriage were communal property. Alex hesitated, puzzled by the specific wording and its unnecessary clarity. "It won't change anything between us," Isabella offered gently, sensing his hesitation. "My parents just want to protect our family's legacy. It's harmless, really." He should have fought harder, challenged the odd stipulations. Yet the ache to be accepted, to avoid conflict, compelled him to sign without further question. His hand trembled as ink met paper, sealing an agreement whose full implications he barely grasped. Donovan's smile widened slightly, a cold triumph flashing briefly across his face. "Welcome to the family," he intoned, the words ringing hollow despite their outward warmth. Their wedding, 6 months later, was an extravagant display of wealth. Imported orchids adorned every corner, the bride's gown handmade by Europe's finest couturier, the cake towering impressively beneath glittering chandeliers. His parents, overwhelmed by the spectacle, stood awkwardly to one side, quietly proud but distinctly uncomfortable amidst the excess. Friends and distant family questioned openly how someone from such humble beginnings had crossed paths with a woman of Isabella's status. Yet for a moment, Alex felt invincible, utterly convinced their love could withstand the subtle sabotage from her family's side. They moved into a luxurious condominium, touted by Donovan as a generous gift, though Alex quickly discovered the strings attached. Donovan had indeed covered the down payment, but Alex was quietly informed that the ongoing financial obligations would be his alone, a subtle reminder of his dependence on their generosity. "It's just fair, isn't it, son?" Donovan had remarked casually, his voice dripping with unspoken disdain. Time passed, and Alex's unease deepened as Isabella's parents continued to encroach upon their life, subtly reshaping their home with expensive, unwanted gifts, unasked for redecorations, and regular unannounced visits. Isabella brushed off his frustrations, her loyalty still torn between her husband and her domineering family. Then, one ordinary afternoon, Isabella's excited voice broke through his routine like lightning. "Alex, you won't believe it," she gasped over the phone, trembling with exhilaration. "We've won the lottery. $9 million. In that instant, Alex envisioned liberation, financial independence, finally free from Donovan's shadow. Yet as days became weeks, Isabella grew distant, secretive about the money, meeting privately with lawyers he had never met. His questions were deflected, his attempts at involvement dismissed. The growing chasm between them finally cracked wide open on a dreary evening when Alex, exhausted from an extended shift, opened their condo door to a surreal scene. Isabella calmly packing his belongings into cardboard boxes. "I'm filing for divorce," she stated plainly, voice void of emotion. "I want you gone now." As he stood frozen in disbelief, Isabella's Aunt Rebecca intervened, smugly informing him the condo was legally Isabella's alone. Feeling hollow, betrayed, Alex numbly gathered his things and left. His entire life, so meticulously constructed on trust and blind love, had unraveled in an instant. The woman he adored had callously discarded him, emboldened by sudden wealth. Yet as he retreated to the familiar safety of his parents' humble home, shattered but determined, Alex knew one thing with absolute clarity. He wouldn't go quietly. This was merely the beginning of an intense, relentless battle, a battle that would uncover dark secrets, shatter facades, and eventually culminate in a revenge so shocking it would echo throughout the Harrington Empire. The stakes were set. The war had just begun. Alex woke in the small, familiar bedroom of his parents' modest home, the reality of Isabella's betrayal pressing down heavily on him. Memories haunted him, gentle whispers, promises spoken softly in moonlit rooms, now replaced by bitter accusations and cold indifference. Downstairs, his parents spoke in low voices over breakfast, their eyes worried. His father finally broke the silence, placing a comforting hand on Alex's shoulder. "Son, we'll fight this together. She can't just erase you like you never existed." Determined not to drown in his grief, Alex agreed to meet with Daniel Ross, a lawyer his father trusted implicitly. Ross listened carefully, his eyes sharp and calculating as Alex recounted the prenup's strange wording and Isabella's sudden windfall. "You see," Ross said, scanning the document, "they've made a serious oversight. Your prenup specifically lists lottery winnings as marital property. That mistake puts us on solid ground. The revelation sparked hope within Alex. However, Ross cautioned that the Harringtons' influence might complicate matters. Stay alert, Ross warned. They'll play dirty. Record everything. Sure enough, the attacks began swiftly. One evening, Alex received a venomous call from Donovan Harrington, dripping with disdain. "You won't get a cent of my daughter's money, Alex. Walk away, or I'll ruin you." Alex refused to bend, keeping his voice steady. "Your threats won't change what's legally mine." Days later, Isabella's mother, Emilia, cornered him outside his parents' home, offering a pitiful sum to buy his silence. "Take it," she sneered. "It's generous for someone of your class." Without hesitation, Alex tore the check apart, anger fueling his courage. "I'll see you in court," he responded coolly. The situation worsened when Isabella's affair came to light. Friends began whispering rumors of her public romance with Julian Cross, an old colleague known for his charm and ambition. A mutual friend confirmed Alex's fears, describing Isabella and Julian together intimately, openly flaunting their new relationship. The betrayal pierced deeper than Alex expected, reigniting his pain but clarifying his resolve. He hired a discreet investigator, Mark Reynolds, who swiftly provided irrefutable proof of Isabella's affair: photographs, hotel receipts, romantic dinners. Even worse, Reynolds uncovered suspicious financial transfers, suggesting Isabella was hiding portions of the lottery money offshore with Julian's help. Armed with evidence of both emotional and financial betrayal, Alex confronted Isabella at a local charity gala, catching her completely off guard. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, eyes flashing with panic. "I came to warn you," Alex said calmly, voice firm despite the ache in his chest. "You've played your cards carelessly, Isabella. Your secrets aren't safe anymore." Her eyes widened, quickly masked by anger. "You wouldn't dare." He stepped closer, voice soft but unwavering. "You threw me away like garbage. Now you'll face the consequences." Isabella stared silently, the weight of his words sinking in. Without another glance, Alex left her standing humiliated and uncertain. As word spread about Isabella's deceit and Julian's shady past, the Harringtons scrambled desperately. False rumors emerged about Alex's integrity, efforts to discredit him publicly, but they failed spectacularly as friends and co-workers fiercely defended him. Finally, Isabella broke her silence in a late-night call, her arrogance replaced by anxiety. "Alex, stop this. It's hurting my family." "Your family didn't care about hurting me," he replied coldly. "Now they'll learn actions have consequences." She hesitated, desperation clear in her voice. "Please, let's settle this privately. I made mistakes, but the scandal, it's too much." Alex paused, the weight of her betrayal heavy in his voice. "You chose scandal when you chose Julian and money over our marriage. You don't get privacy now." He ended the call, breathing deeply, feeling stronger than he had in weeks. This was no longer just about revenge, it was justice. The Harringtons had underestimated him, and now they'd paid dearly for that arrogance. The courtroom buzzed with tension. Alex sat with Daniel Ross, his heart hammering as Isabella and her parents entered. Donovan Harrington's cold stare drilled into Alex, but he refused to flinch. Beside Isabella sat Julian, appearing uneasy under scrutiny. The judge, stern yet impartial, opened the proceedings. Donovan's high-priced attorney immediately attacked, painting Alex as opportunistic, undeserving, a freeloader manipulating Isabella's wealth. But Daniel stood confidently, presenting clear evidence. The signed prenup specifying lottery winnings as shared assets, Alex's steady financial contributions, and Isabella's covert transfers of money into offshore accounts, facilitated by Julian. The judge listened carefully, eyebrows raised at the extent of Isabella's deception. Isabella herself seemed shaken, her previous arrogance crumbling with each revelation. Donovan's calm exterior cracked, anger evident as his carefully constructed empire teetered publicly. After hours of testimony and evidence, the judge's ruling came swiftly and decisively. The prenup clearly states lottery winnings are marital property. Therefore, Mr. Alex Carter is legally entitled to half of the $9 million prize. Additionally, due to the concealment of assets, Mrs. Carter's offshore funds will be reviewed and further penalties may apply. A murmur of shock rippled through the courtroom. Donovan leaped to his feet, livid. "This is outrageous," he snapped, silenced swiftly by the judge's firm gavel. As Alex stood, relief flooded him. But the fight wasn't entirely over. He turned to leave, only to find Isabella glaring at him, eyes blazing with fury. "You'll regret this," she hissed, voice trembling. "I'll make sure of it." Alex met her stare evenly, refusing to show weakness. "You already took everything I had. You brought this on yourself." Outside the courthouse, Donovan approached Alex, voice dangerously low. "You might have one today, but I'll ruin your future. Consider yourself finished." Alex faced him calmly. "Your threats are meaningless now, Donovan. The truth is out, and you've lost control." As he walked away, Alex felt a sense of freedom he'd long forgotten, finally free from the shadow of the Harringtons. Months after the trial, Alex began rebuilding his life, carefully managing his share of the lottery winnings. He invested in a small sports equipment business, growing it steadily with hard work and determination. His parents beamed with pride at his resilience, grateful to see their son reclaiming his dignity. Meanwhile, Isabella's public disgrace deepened. Julian, exposed for his deceitful past and involvement in the financial scandal, quickly abandoned her. News outlets covered her story relentlessly, the once privileged heiress now shunned by her elite circle. One rainy evening, Isabella appeared unexpectedly at Alex's store, visibly exhausted and defeated. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Alex, can we talk?" Reluctantly, he agreed, cautious yet compassionate as she confessed her mistakes, admitting the destructive path she'd chosen had left her empty and alone. "I lost everything important because of greed," she whispered, tears welling up. "I was wrong. I ruined us." Alex felt a pang of sympathy, yet stood firm. "Isabella, you chose money over love. Forgiveness might come someday, but trust is gone." She nodded quietly, understanding fully. With a faint, sorrowful smile, she walked away, leaving Alex to reflect on the bitter lessons they both learned. Years later, Alex's store flourished. He dedicated himself to mentoring young employees, instilling values of integrity, humility, and hard work. The painful experiences of his past became guiding lessons, shaping him into a man respected and admired by his community. Occasionally, news reached him about the Harrington family's gradual downfall. Donovan faced scrutiny for unethical business practices. Amelia withdrew from society, her influence diminished. Isabella, humbled by reality, retreated to quiet anonymity, slowly seeking redemption through charitable work. One bright afternoon, Alex stood in his store, filled with gratitude for the journey, painful yet transformative. A familiar figure appeared hesitantly at the entrance. Isabella, looking modest and sincere, carrying a box of donations for local youth teams. "Hi, Alex," she began softly, eyes gentle yet wary. "I just wanted to help." He studied her quietly, recognizing genuine remorse. "Thank you," he finally said, taking the donation. Their exchange was brief, yet meaningful, an acknowledgement of healing, forgiveness silently offered, though not forgotten. As she left, Alex felt peace settle deeply within him. The past no longer controlled him, vengeance replaced by compassion and strength. He'd lost love, but found wisdom, endured betrayal, but discovered resilience. Alex Carter had finally reclaimed his life, proving that true wealth was never about money, but dignity, purpose, and the courage to rise again.